Okay, so in our yesterday's session, we understood the overview of JPA application. So that means how JPA is working. So what is the importance of entity class and what is the importance of repository interface and how we are making connectivity in between entity and repository. And finally, how we are making database operations by using a repository interface. So these are all details we discussed in yesterday session. So on a high level, I mean, not high level, it's all we had. Okay, enough discussion with respect to entity and repository definition and how we are making repositories also, how we are generating the repositories. And as part of the repository generation, so what we have to do, like how where we have to provide the entity class information. So all the information we discussed as part of yesterday session. So we will see same kind of examples today also, and but only thing is we will cover different operations like delete operations and maybe select operations, update operations point of view. We will cover same kind of examples today also. That means we will enhance our details whatever we understood yesterday. On top of that, we will enhance furthermore, and we will see few more details how things are happening as part of the JPA module and how we are avoiding the SQL queries as part of our Spring Boot JPA modules also. We'll try to understand. Okay. So on a glance again, you know that point. The moment whenever you want to do a database operation by using JPA module, Spring Boot JPA, so you have to make sure first of all in which table you are inserting the data or with which table you are dealing with the operations. So for the table, you have to write an entity class. And how to write entity classes, we had a overview right now, and we will create few more entity classes also. And then you will write the repository interface. So how to create a repository interface means, again, I said yesterday, you have to take repository is nothing but an interface, and Spring Boot provided two interfaces called as CRUD repository and JPA repository, and those two repository, by using one of the repository, we have to write our own repository interface by extending the existing JPA repository. So that means CRUD repository or JPA repository available, we have to create our own interface by extending one of these repository. So the moment you are extending, that means it will ask again two details like as a generic values t and id. So t represents type of the class. That means the entity class name you have to give. For which entity class you created that repository, that a t, that value you have to give here. And id represents, yesterday I discussed one more point. In JPA, whenever we are creating entity classes, we have to make sure one column is always as a identifier column, nothing but as a unique values column, nothing but a primary key column perspective. Because the reason is 99% every time tables will have always primary key values, primary key columns in real-time applications. 99% people will create always a primary key column in every table. So to make whatever lot of other perspectives point of view, people will create always a primary key column as part of every database table. So to deal with this point, to make it mandatory point of views, JPA is also making defining one annotation called as @id with respect to a column where you are feeling that that column is called as identifier column. So wherever you generally your table is having a primary key column and associated to that primary key column, whatever the table, whatever the column you are dealing with the Java property, and on that Java property level, you have to give the identifier column. So, but definitely 100% your entity class should contain always a identifier column. So these are all details we discussed, and after that you will define repository interfaces, and then finally whenever you want to do database operations like adding the details, deleting the details and all, what you have to do, wherever you want to do database operations, simply use that repository, get that repository instance by using auto void. So that means container will take care, Spring Boot IOC container, Spring Boot will take care internally creating instance of a class which is an implementation of this interface and all. Spring Boot will take care so many things internally. It doesn't matter for us. Spring will take care of internally. Finally, Spring will inject an implementation object for this. An implementation object as part of this. Finally, Spring will take care internally what is happening and all. So now our responsibility as a Java developer is whatever the repositories you created, that you can auto-ware wherever you want. Wherever you want, just auto-ware that repository and call the predefined methods by passing entity objects or some other information. Simply via repository only, you are able to do always database operations in JPA module. So internally, the moment you are calling save method or whatever methods it is, internally Spring Boot is going to take care of all this query generation. So queries are always generated dynamically based on the operation what we are doing, and that queries are sent to the DB, and finally queries executed on the DB. Like that, this is all the flow we discussed until yesterday. Let's see continuation to that only. We will understand few more things today also. So yesterday we created one more repository called as user details repository, which is dealing with the user information. Nothing but this is dealing with a table called as user underscore information. So total 2 entity classes, 2 repositories we created. Let's see few more operations with respect to product table and as well as user table also. We'll try to understand. So in yesterday's session, yeah, okay. So in yesterday's session, we added only, so if you see here, this requirement, what we did, we inserted one product information into table. We inserted one product information into table by using repository interface and all. Now let's take, so that means what is the scenario we completed is added one record at a time. One record at a time. So that means one product information means one record. You made only one record added at a time. Now my second requirement is, so JPA provided a method. JPA provided a method, okay, for adding more than one record. More than one record. So what is the point of JPA provided more than one record means? If you observe this logic, what we did, save entity object. How many entity objects you passed? One entity object we passed here. So one entity object means one product information and one entity object you passed. So that means finally one record is inserted. One record inserted. Right? Now the point here it is JPA provided one more method to add more than one product also. So that means at a time, for example, assume I have product details like this. Product ID is 222 and I'm something like I'll take like a mouse and the price is something like 5,000 whatever it is. And as well as I have one more product 223 and I have product called as keyboard and the price is 2,000 rupees. And similarly I have one more product 225 whatever it is and the product name is all about what I can take speaker or whatever it is, and then price is something like 4,000 rupees. Like that, more than one product can I do or not? So in yesterday's scenario, by using one product point of view, what you did, we used a method called as save method. And these are all methods you have to remember, guys. These methods are coming from where I discussed this point yesterday very clearly. So if you see here, this is the repository. You extended JPA repository. And if you observe the diagram, so I explained this yesterday itself. So whatever the repository you created, it is your repository is having only 0 abstract methods. If you observe here, our repository doesn't have any methods, any abstract methods. But parent interface called as JPA repository is having some methods. And even JPA is also internally inherited from the CRUD repository. So that means all the methods of JPA repository and CRUD repository is going to be imported into your repository level. So that's why you are able to access, so that, yeah, so that's why we are able to access via our own repository save method of either JPA or code repository interfaces. The reason is it's a parent class method. From the parent classes, parent interfaces level, you are accessing this method. It's all inheritance, pure inheritance. Okay. So it's all about adding only one product. So by adding multiple products at a time means, yes, there is a method again available called as save all method. So that means here save all means you can pass when you are having more than one entity object or more than one record. So that means in this case three records are there. So that means you have to create three objects of entities. Three entity objects. I can say like three entity objects. So every object will contain this information, second object, third object, three entity objects. And these three entity objects you have to pass to save all method in the form of list of objects. List of objects. See the beauty of JPA. You are not at all writing any SQL queries like insert into table, something like that. And you can add sorry, you can add multiple objects also, multiple records at a time. You can insert into table by writing a single method. You're making it and all, so automatically internally record 1, record 2, record 3, like that. The number of entity objects you given, the number of entity objects with information, all that information will be inserted one by one into the table. So that means what is the method we are discussing right now is save all method. Let's see the save all. Yeah, so I will take one more Java class. I said right, wherever you want, do database operations on a table, and in whatever the class it is database operations. Something intentionally I taken a new class today. So simply what you have to do, you have to make this class also as a component class. Why you have to make 100% component is, otherwise, dependency injection will not happen. Why dependency injection you need? Because and you need a repository of what? You need a repository of so and so table. For example, our requirement is what? Inserting multiple products. So that means product table. So product table means product details repository. So this repository we have to auto wire in our class. Okay, so then okay, so variable name I taken like this. Okay, so now what is our requirement? Adding more than one product. More than one product is all about requirement. Nothing but inserting more than one record. That is what context here it is. Inserting more than one record at a time. So let's see how it is. Same thing, just save all method. So public void add more products. Add more products. And then what you have to do? First to see the method available or not. Then based on that, you can prepare your data. So see here, save is the method. And if you see here, save all iterable. Iterable is nothing but a collection interface. You know that it's all collection framework. Iterable is a topmost interface in the entire collection framework. So that means you can pass a set of object, a array list of objects, a set of object, hash set of objects like that. What objects? Entities. Please remember guys, it's all about entities objects. It's all about entities. Just give me a second. I don't know. Yeah, I need this. Okay, thanks. Okay. So the moment you take and save method, what it is saying here it is entities. So entities, that means entity objects in the form of list you can pass. So it is saying like you can pass as a form of, you can pass iterable object. That means you can pass what? Array list of objects, hash set of objects you can pass. Linked list, all these objects you can pass here. So let's take, in our case, we will take array list of objects. So list of what objects? Entity objects. What is our entity class? Product details. Product details type objects you are creating. All products equals to new array list, something like that, and all products dot add product details object. One by one product object you have to add it. So I'm directly adding it. I think go to the product details. You don't have any constructor, right? I can add the constructor. See, I'm using Lombok. I think I don't know whether I added that annotation or not. All aux constructor. Okay, I did not added the Lombok, but next project onwards, I will add the Lombok so that I can utilize Lombok going further. But I will add. So you can create a constructor and you call the setter methods, create a default constructor and call the setter method. It's up to your choice. But what I'm doing is to save time. Sorry, setter getter, not setter getter, source constructor using the field, and as well as make sure most of the times default constructor and as well as all parameterized constructors available in our Pojo classes whenever you define. So all parameterized default constructor like that. Okay, so let's go here now. I'm adding directly, guys. That's what I don't want to bring more lines, and that is what my point here it is. Yeah, this is what product details and what is the data we have. So I'll take this data as it is. Okay, first one is able to and mouse. And when you are practicing, don't create 2, 3 columns. Create at least 7, 8, minimum 10 columns. So do practice in a bigger perspective, not in the 1 or 2 columns, 1 or 2 properties, not like that. Okay, so see here I added product number 1. Similarly, I'll add product number 2, product number 3. So here 223, and it's all about keyboard. And I decided price as 2000 and then 225 speaker, and I decided price as 4000, something like. So now I have list of objects. So it might be 3, it might be 300, it might be 3000 also. Any more than one, simply more than one. In earlier case, save method, what it is doing, you can pass only one object at a time, not more than one. So that means one insert query is executed in this case. One insert query is executed in this case, or one record is inserted, whatever it is. But the method now what I'm discussing is save all method. So as part of save all, what you can pass? You can pass collection object. Collection object means I'm passing this now all products. See here, that's all. Now, in this case, what will happen here it is total 3 records will be inserted. No. If you're calling this method, automatically 3 objects, entity objects you created and added to the array list, and that array list you pass it to the save all method. The moment save all method is executed, total 3 records are inserted. This object, 1 record, this object, 1 more record, this object, 1 more record. So internally what Hibernate Spring is going to do is Spring Boot JPA Hibernate. It will see the instruction of what save all, and then it will take 1 by 1 object and it will start preparing 1 by 1 insert query, and 1 by 1 insert query will be sent to the DB like that. So total 3 queries will be generated internally and 3 queries are executed on the database now. So whether it is true or not, see here. Okay, go to the Spring container, database operations, to DB operations, to equal to new, so not new, container dot get bean dot class, or you can pass bean ID also, both are same. Okay, so now call that method. What is that method? Add something more products, right? Yeah, the moment you are calling this method here, it will come here. Three entity objects created and added to the array list. Finally, array list has having three objects and that you are passing to the save all method. Now our assumption is three insert queries, three records are inserted. If you are added 10 records, 10 entity objects, 10 records, three records are inserted. Whether it is right or wrong, see. And if you can use this property, it is a big advantage for you. What's being the queries executed? Yeah, show SQL. It will print what are the queries generated internally that will be printed. So see here, run as Java application. See here, leave about that select query. You can ask, sir, why this select query is executing every time? We are saying insert, but it is doing select. What is the purpose of select? We will understand. There is a reason behind it, but concentrate right now on the insert queries only. Insert into product. Oh, okay. I think other class also got executed. DB operations point of view. Okay, so this logic is also executed because we made yesterday this one, right? So leave about it. From here you can concentrate. I think, yeah, these three queries: insert into product, insert into product, insert into product. Three insert queries are executed. Why three? Three entity objects are there, and you called a method called as save all method. So if you have only one entity object, one record at a time, you have to insert, use this save method. If you want to insert all at a time, use this save all method. That is what you have to understand with respect to insert operations. Insert operations. Now let's come back to the uh, delete operation. So how can we do delete operations? We understood insert operations as of now. So now we are going to do delete operations. Nothing but yeah. So before the delete, we'll go with select operations. The most thing select operations. So what is the point of select operations? Nothing but generally in a database point of view, if I given a requirement to you, okay, so like, hey, I want all the details of products in our in product table. Then what you will do immediately? You will write a query. You will write a query like select star from product. The moment you executed this SQL query, what you will get? All the records, if it is 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, all records you will get it. All records, you will get the thing. That is what select operations. Nothing but read operations. Even we will call it as the read operations also. You are just reading the data from the table. You are not doing any insertions. DQL language. So in this case, what you have to do? So maybe this is one scenario. Second scenario is sometimes select star from product only based on a product column, product ID, where product ID equal to 101, 222, something like that. So these are all scenarios we will cover one by one. These are all scenarios we will cover one by one. We will try to understand. So let's take first this one, all records, and after that specific records based on the column name, where classes and all, where product ID and something like that. We will use where class with under conjunctions also, right? So where condition 1, condition 2, condition 1, condition 2, or clauses, something like that. You have so many scenarios with respect to select operations. We will see one by one, one by one, one by one as part of our JPA, how we are going to do that. So first thing is what I'm going to do. I'll take all products, loading all the product information from the table. How we are going to do that? Yeah, first go to the table. Select the star from product. So I have only 3 records. So I assume like it is 300 that like that also. If you want, I can do one more thing. Yeah, 3 records are also enough. Okay. Yeah. Go to operations class. I think for select queries, okay, I'll use this table for only one this, and after that I'll create a new table and we'll create new entity classes. We'll create some big table so that I can cover a lot of scenarios at a time. Okay, let's take for time being products only. So, all products objects. I mean all products information. Simply you want to get all products information. So at a time you want to get all the products, 300, the number of records available, whatever it is, you have to get all the things. How to do that? In general, if it is SQL point of view, we discuss like select a star from product. But now we are not writing any SQL queries. We are doing everything via object oriented solutions. How you are going to do that? So see here, public void load all products, something, some method name. And then what you have to do? Repository. Observe the repository. What is the repository? Which table? Product table. So that means this is the repository, right? You created for the product table. This is the repository. And observe here, is there any methods dealing with the operations or not? See, guys, you can get one by one now. So what is the point of count method? So it is saying like returns the number of entities available. That means generally what is the count in SQL? Select count from the table means what it will give? The number of records in the table. The number of records in the table. So the moment you are using count in our regular SQL, what you will get? You will get the number of records in the table. So generally, if you are using count in Oracle or wherever it is, you will get 3 records. Why 3 records are there? If you are having 300 records, the number of records. Simply count is representing number of records. Now in JPA point of view, whenever you want to know how many records available in the product table, so then you have to use this method. So that means that your requirement is get count of number of records, get count of records. Then what you have to use? Count method on that. So that's all. It will give integer value. Now how many records are available? So you can take this on your assignment perspective or whatever it is. Small things you can do on your own. Okay, so you can take this on your own. Now see any other methods we can understand. Count of example. So it's all about you give, if you give an entity and all, it's internal, no need to worry about it. We will see, but few things later. Now it's all about delete operations. I said delete, we will see later. Delete all. Yesterday, I think we already saw that. Delete all. Delete all means what it is doing? Delete all the records from the table. Delete all entities managed by the repository means deletes all records from the table. This operation we did yesterday also. It will completely wipe out all the records. Delete star from table, nothing but. If you want to delete all the records, then you have to use this method. So delete all, no, 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 no. These are all delete by point of view. It's not our requirement. Now see here, this is what find by. Find is nothing but what? Finding. That means nothing but reading, nothing but getting. So now if you see here, there is a method available, find all. What it is saying? Returns all instances of the type. So that means it is going to return all the records as a Java objects from the table called as product table. So how you are saying? So see here, you are not doing anything. You are nothing but you are sending this SQL query only. You are calling simply a product find all method, and observe the return type of find all method. What? List of product details. What is this product details? Our entity object. So in this case, what's happening this story? Let's understand. List of all products you got, right? So all products you got. So that's all. Your logic is done. See, one within one line, you got all the. So that's what I said in the JDBC module level also. The challenges of JDBC when comparing with JPA, something like that. What I said at that time is, the moment in general in a JDBC point of view, what is going to happen? If you are sending select query, you will get a result set, and that result set will be iterated. Why? Because you cannot transfer result set object to other methods or whatever it is. So that's why what you used to do is you will iterate it. So you will write all this logic. Sorry, iterate. So you will iterate it by writing while conditions or whatever it is. And then you will pick up all the data and you will create manually objects, and I'm inputting, and you are going to add it to a some array list or list, whatever it is. And finally you are going to get the list. But now see today what is going to happen. You, in the JPA perspective point of view, you are calling simply a method, and then you got the list. That's all. So these are all steps are internally taken care by the JPA. So simply you are calling a method, even though you are not writing select query also. You simply call a method and just it is giving you directly list of objects. That means internally this entire process is happened. Don't think like automatically it came. So that means in this case what it is happening, the moment you given find all method, you called find all method on a repository. So it's a, in this case repository is more important. What is the repository you used? Product details repository dot find all method. Product details find all method. So the moment you called find all method in this case, what happens here it is, it will observe from on which repository you called find all product details. So nothing but which table product details. I mean which entity, sorry, entity class. This repository belongs to product details entity class. Product details entity class. Nothing but table point of view, product table. Right? This is what we configured in the entity class. So the moment you are calling find all method, what will happen internally? Hibernate will decide like, okay, this guy given find all. So he's saying like, I want all, select star. Then Hibernate decided like, let's make a query, select star from which table? This repository is giving all that information, belongs to the entity class, and entity class also table is product table. So that means select star from product. A query is generated. And the moment query got generated, I said, right? So this diagram, I don't have a space. That's why I'm writing on high level here. The moment query is generated, what will happen? This query went to the DB. This query, Hibernate internally, I mean Spring JPA internally sending this query to the DB. So then the moment it is executed query on the DB, what will happen? All three records as a result set, came to the where? Three records are there on the database and all that given as a result set to the Hibernate. So all three records are got as a Yeah. So these are all the three records. I mean, if it is 300, 300, 30,000, 30,000, whatever story it is, same story. So these three records being given back to the whom? Internally Spring Boot JPA. So Spring Boot JPA is taking care of all these things. So the logic of Spring Boot JPA module internally, they are taking these records. What they are doing again, these are all in the result set format. So the moment it came back to the Spring Boot JPA, what Spring Boot JPA is doing is it is converting each and every record into again one more object, one more entity object. So what it is doing, three records are there. So for this, one entity object. So in this case, for this point of view, one entity object. And for this, one more entity object. And for this, one more entity object. Like that, for every record, an individual entity object will be created and internally it will put the data also. Double two, triple two mouse 5000 and similarly second object, double two three keyboard and third entity object like double two five speaker like that. All the values are going to be stored in this entity objects. And again, all these entity objects again wrapped inside a list of objects. Again, what it is doing, these are all objects being again collected under a collection. So that means list, added to list, one by one added to. So that means simply what it is doing, added to list means simply what it is doing, it is creating one record, taking the record, converted entity object, and that entity added to the list. That entity added to the list. So finally what is happened? An array list is created by end of the all the things and that list is returning back to the logic again. So that means this is all story happens internally. But as a developer, you are not worrying about anything. Single line, you got all the records from the table as a list of objects. So see here, now it's all you can do whatever you want to do. Now you if you want to send it to front end, I mean generally Java is a backend logic, right? Now send to front end. I mean we don't have it right now, but as a standalone application, assume it is a web application. Now generally we will see in the Flipkart level all products are something like that, right? So I mean whatever the information is, now you can simply send it to front end or whatever it is like that. So let's print it for example time being, and I'll do one thing. I don't have a toString method, so I'll create toString method. So it's not just for the purpose of printing only I'm taking this. So what I will do, all products sys out of, you can use for loops or whatever it is, your wish up to is, and all products. So let's see here, run as, no, not this one. You have to call this method, right? Yeah. I'll disable this. Okay, so I'll disable this also so that otherwise those that logic will execute again and we will get the confusion. That's the reason. DB operations 2 dot what you added load all products. So the moment you are calling load all products, what will happen? Yeah, the moment we call load all products, one line, lot of work, lot of things you are getting back. Run as Java application. Now see, select what from table. So nothing but star. Generally, we will use star for all columns. Here, these guys are taking individual columns, but simply it is a select star from all. So how many records you got means product details. See, product one, product two, and all product three. You got all the information. But if you want to do same thing in the JDBC, we know the pain, right? As a developer, how much time you have to spend is. I don't think I have here. Yeah, I think we discussed all these points earlier, right? So load all, then you have to do all this connection establishment. I think especially, I mean, I just shown you that. Yeah, here, this is what I said, right? So generally what will happen, result set is not transferable. If it is a regular JDBC, these many lines you have to write the logic. This is all as a developer, you have to write select query, you have to write, you will get the connection object, driver manager, connection object, result set, then iterating. Then again, you have to do all this 40, 50, 30, 40 lines of logic. You have to write a very small example. But now the thing is, see, even JDBC point of view, we understood some row mapper class. Even that is also simplified in the JPA. Even that is also simplified in the JPA. See, this is what I said in the JDBC level. So after some point of time, you are going to use a small method, automatically things will happen. So that means, see, from JDBC to Spring JDBC, lot of complexity is reduced. And again from JDBC module to JPA module, it came to shorthand. It came to one line, one simple one or two words. That's all. But so lot of automation is done by the Spring Boot JPA internally. So that's why productivity is more in with frameworks. One line activity you did, but you got all the products. If I given same requirement with respect to Java JDBC, you have to write minimum 30, 20, minimum 10 lines, minimum. So like that. So that is what loading all the products at a time. Okay, fine. Okay. Now I'll ask one more thing, one more requirement. Yeah, here, right? Yeah. So what is that requirement is? This is all about loading all the products. And second requirement what I will take is details of products in a product table, details of product, okay, details of a product from the product table, okay, which based on product ID, based on product ID. The moment if I am asking this, then what is the SQL query you will write, guys? Select a star from product, but you will use where condition. Why where condition you are using? The reason is based on the product ID. I don't want all the records. Based on the product ID, I want a product information. So that's why you will write like PID equal to something like this. So if you are passing triple to whatever the value here it is, so automatically what you will get that product information. Now assume in this case product ID, I said it as an identifier column, nothing but a primary key column. Generally we are not created as a primary key column while creating the table, but the moment you made as JPA operation point of view, it will avoid the duplicate values. Nothing but it is acting as a primary key only. Nothing but it is acting as a primary key only. So if you want, I can do one more thing quickly for you. Generally, you have to create table always with a primary key. It's better. So what I will do is drop table. See, I'm dropping the table. Okay, my table is dropped and I'll create table freshly. Okay, so let's do one thing. Instead of product table, from here onwards, we will change a new table. So that I will add 6 to 7 columns and I can cover a lot of examples by using same table. So I'll take, what is the table name I can take here it is. I'll take in a better approach point of view, real-time perspective point of view. Person, cities, Students, organization, employee. Yeah, I'll take employee only. Better thing. You will have a lot of columns then. I'll create a fresh table with respect to employee, and based on that, we will do rest of the discussion. So that means details of an employee from employee table based on the employee ID something. I just changed the thing. So simply, if it is SQL, you will write like this: employee, whatever it is, EID, ID, whatever it is, etc., etc. So in this case, we will make employee ID as a primary key. That is what our context here it is. See, I'm intentionally changing so that we can have a different approach. That is what. And as well as what I will do is I'll take a fresh project again. I don't want to mix all the things at one place. So you can get more otherwise you'll get confused also. So I'm creating a new project quickly, but you know what is the things and all now, how to create a project. So file, new, Spring starter project, Spring JPA app to something, whatever it is. Next, and you know what are the modules you have to take here. Spring Boot data JPA and what is the database you are using. These two are mandatory. These two are mandatory based on that. And I am taking Lombok because I thought you, I mean, I teach you Lombok. So that's why I'm going to leverage the Lombok from today onwards. And you can also start using Lombok. It's a good thing. Okay, app to come back. And probably this weekend I am planning, maybe see, I'll make it as a on Sunday only. If you are interested, you can join or you can listen the recording later also. I'm going to conduct a Sunday session again. It's what I'm planning is debugging. It's a more important technique, debugging. So that means people who knows the debugging, they no need to show interest. It's all about we have a concept called as breakpoints and debugging. Runtime level, how you are going to debug the code. It's a technique of okay, knowing the execution flow and everything. In the runtime level, how data is passing and all, debugging concept will be there. Generally, debugging we will do the that itself having an answer. Bugs. Whenever you are having bugs, to analyze the things what's going wrong in the dynamic and at the runtime level, what's happening things and all. Generally, we will use debugging techniques. So the debugging technique I'm going to teach you on maybe on this Sunday, but I'll confirm you tomorrow, but not today. I'll confirm. But the next topic will come as a debugging out of the context. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is it. If I take a next session, maybe a day after tomorrow, definitely I'll take debugging. Mostly I'll take, but I'll confirm tomorrow. But the concept is debugging. I decided like debugging. Okay. So come back to here. So let's create a table first, fresh table with respect to employee. Maybe if you have any table also, I'll drop. I don't think I have any employee tables. Oh my God, I already have employee table. I think we can take existing table also, not a big deal. Okay, so instead of creating, let's go to the C and employee table structure first of all. You have employee table. Yeah, you will already have it. Data also good. It's good to have this kind of data. I think I can create my own data, salary, department number. I can simplify the process. Okay, now let's create our own table instead of this. Okay, let me create my own table. I'll give some differentiation in the table name. Okay, so create table followed by table name, like I'm giving employee underscore info or employee details, something like that, EMP details. See, in real-time projects, generally table names, whenever you are having more than table names or column names, people will use underscores, guys, to differentiate one word to another word. People will use underscores. Okay, so remember that point. Yeah, create table employee details, and I will take employee underscore ID, and the size is number of 10, and it is a primary key, comma, yeah, I'm making employee ID as a primary key column. I'm making employee as a primary key column, and then employee name and where char 2 of 50, and then employee ID name, age I will take, and then followed by age is number of, and what is I'll take is 2 digit. Generally we will have 2 digit numbers, right? Yeah, I'll take 2 only, and then followed by salary, and then I want number of salary, probably assume 10 digits longer, and 2 digits precision values. Okay, fine. And then I'll make sure city, from which city. I want all this because I want to cover a lot of other examples. That's why I'm making at a time bigger table, and I will use this table for so many examples. That's why I'm making a proper table. So city and followed by, that means where char 2. Okay, so where char 2 and followed by city name. Generally I can expect 30 characters. Fine. And then gender, yeah, so gender, and then followed by again where char 2, and I'll expect male, female, something like that, right? 6 characters, or maybe I can use 10 characters, whatever it is. And then city, employee ID is enough, name is enough, age I'm okay. Based on the salary, where care I can get it the details, city. Hmm. I'll take one column called as country also. I assume it's a global point of view. And where cat to, I'll take some 20 digits, sorry, 20 length. And if you want, I can take date of birth. Like I can take, forgetting the things. I don't want to take timestamp. Okay, date, all this I'll cover later. Some complexity we will involve slowly later. Okay, let's create until this. This is more enough so that I can cover couple of scenarios by using all these columns and combinations. And that's why I'm thinking what I can take to cover other scenarios. Select, find way I can cover with this. And operator or operator belongs to city, and okay, country point of view, okay. Gender point of view, I'm okay. Primary key column also okay there. Where cap to. Okay, let's take this in case if anything required, we can create one more table later. But so many covers, so many things will be covered from this itself. Yeah. So let's see. I'm just creating my table now. What's happening? This much time. Okay. There is a mistake. Give me a second. Something is happening with DB. Okay, fine. So DB is connected. Let's create a table freshly. Yeah, table got created. So if you want to see the table, okay, I can see from here. This is what the. So what table I created, employee details I created right away. And if you open this table structure, yeah, if you see here columns, these are all columns and this is the size and which is a primary key column is employee ID is a primary key column, nothing but not null column. If you see constants also, primary key we given it employee ID to level. Okay, leave it. So these are the columns I have. Let's start making. So now if you want to do any DB operations with respect to this table, what you have to do immediately is creating a entity class. Okay. So let's concentrate on entity class creation now. We are already created two entity classes. Concept is same. Just create at the rate table at the rate column annotations as part of entity class and all same thing. And I'll give little bit shortcuts here and let's understand here what it is. That's why I taken a fresh project. Now let's start creating entity class. Step number one, generally you know that creating the entity class. Based on the table, you know that. So let's see, create the entity class. New class entity. Sorry, give proper class name. Dot entity, something like that. So don't disturb base package at any point of time. That is basic rule. So I'm writing my class name as employee details, something like that. Yeah, employee details, something like that. Finish. and I'm going to make my class as a entity class, and then followed by table, and then you will give table name equal to, what is your table name? I think from here I can copy paste. So this is employee details is the table name, and respectively columns. How many columns you want means total one, I mean 6 or 7 you created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns are there. So based on this 7 columns, you have to make sure all the things now. Okay, I'll copy paste that. So see here, this is the columns we have, right? So let's create one by one variable names here. First create the variable names, and then we will see writing at the red columns and all. First private, as a Pojo class perspective, we are writing all these things. Private variables we will take. And the first one is employee ID. So what you will do? Employee ID. Something variable you taken like this, and you taken number of 10. That means it's better to go with long. Okay, fine. And then private name varchar2. That means always string. Varchar is nothing but string. You don't need to worry about it. Name private. Third one is age, and age belongs to what is the data type? Number of 2. So that means two digit values. You can take byte short also, or integer also, whatever it is, because two digit means byte short. You can take short int, but I can take integer. And then private salary. So salary data types comes under 10 comma 2. So that means you can take float or double. So I'll take float. Fine. Okay, good. City value, private. City point of view, data type is varchar to 30 means string. If it is varchar in Java, it is string. And then followed by private gender varchar. So that means string. And then followed by gender, right? You take it. Yeah. So gender, whatever it is. You can take any variable names. Okay. Private string country, like that. Okay. So yes, total 7 columns. Now out of these 7 columns, first thing is making a column as identifier column. Yes, this time you made intentionally column itself. I mean, we made column itself as a primary key column called as employee ID. And we decided this column, this property is going to belong to the employee ID column. So that's right. Let's write first column and followed by name equal to, what is the column name? Employee ID. And then we made this column as a ID column at the rate ID. So import from the Jakarta.persistence API. Okay, this is clear. Similarly, you have to do same thing for column, 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 column and all. But actually, okay, not actually, it's a shortcut. Whether you will follow or not, it's a different story. See, the moment you, you defined what? All variables, right? Write setter getters. That's a common story. So to write setter getter methods, all these things in the Lombok, what we have annotations, guys, you can use Lombok here. Lombok data at the rate. If you want all arguments constructor, all aux constructor. If you want to default constructor, no aux constructor. So generally this is what we will do in real-time application. Now you don't need to write setter getters. I mean, you don't need to generate or you don't need to write also. That means it's already Lombok is taking care. And if it, now this class is having constructor also. And understand the point, there is no relation between entity and Lombok. Okay, we taking advantage of Lombok into entity class. Instead of we are typing, writing setter getters and as well as constructors. So that is all. Okay. So now see here at the rate column, this is also column, this is also column. Let's define like that. Now the moment you written at the rate column and followed by name equal to the column name. What is the column name of the DB table actually name? But if you observe here, the Java property name what you taken and the column name both are same. So in this case, the note, what is the observation here? It is DB table column name is exactly same to entity class property name. Entity class property name. So you taken, I mean, that's what. If you see here, this is employee ID, this is EMP underscore ID. So that means definitely both are not equal. So that's fine. But in this case, a shortcut point, you if you're writing this, there is no point. There is no, it's a good thing. As a shortcut point of view, I'm just telling you. Column name and property name both are same. So in such case, even though you are not given column name, column annotation, nothing will happen, guys. So that means in this case, what is going to happen here? It is automatically JPA will understand, okay, this property belongs to the column called as name. This property belongs to called as age. This property belongs to called as salary. This property belongs to called as city. This property belongs to called as gender. This property belongs to called as country. Why? You maintained exactly same property names similar to column names. Assume, for example, here the column name is like this. C and I mean C, yeah, country name or whatever it is. CYU country name. So then here you taken as a country, but here it is a country name. So then different. Then again you have to maintain at the rate column. At the rate column followed by name equal to, and then whatever the column name you have, that you have to define. So simple thing is, if there is a difference between column name and property name, then you can use column name. If both are same, it's optional. Whether you will use it or not, it's your choice. Now see here. Now if you observe here, all are same almost. Age, salary, city, gender, and as well as country also. I think I given country also same as it is in the DB table. So that means all are same. So in this case, it's up to your choice whether you will give column like this or you cannot ignore it. It's up to your choice. So what I will do is I'll do one or two things I given intentionally, and two or three I left over. Same thing. Now it's nothing but what JPA will understand. This is an entity class. Now, even though you are not given an annotation of at the rate column here, it's nothing but JPA considering what JPA is considering in this case. So in this case, what JPA is considering is column name and and property name. Same. That's what it is considering. So nothing but internally it is going to consider as a column name equal to whatever the property name you given, right? So the same property name is considering as a column. So it's up to developer choice, guys. So you can do that. If there is a difference, definitely you have to maintain the column. There is no difference, you no need to provide column annotation also. So it's a shortcut. If you provided also, nothing will happen. It's very clear. If you are not provided also, then it will understand, okay, at the rate column name equal to, in this case, what JPA will understand is, even though you are not given, internally, it will consider as a city. So if you given no difference, if you are not given no difference when both are same. So you got the point now in this case, right? Okay, cool. So this is the shortcut you have to understand. And point number two, what you can try as an assignment point of view is, I'll give you small points as an assignment. This is what you can do is make column name, sorry, not column name, make table name and class name. That means entity class name. Same. Okay, what I said, for example, assume your DB table name is, example I'm telling you, product. We take an earlier product, right? And assume your entity class name is also product. So table name is product, entity class name is product. In such case also, no need of what? At the rate table annotation. No need of means you can mention, nothing will happen. But you, even if you are ignoring also, it's optional. Optional of using. So I can say like optional. Optional of at the rate table column. So nothing but what will happen in this case. If you mention table equal to name equal to product as part of table annotation, there is no problem. I mean, it's a common thing. Even though if you are not mentioned, what it will consider is internally table name equal to. So what it will consider means table name equal to product. So on a overall summary point, what you have to understand, guys, if table name and entity class name are same, then at the rate table is optional. That means JPA consider class name as a table name. Class name as a table. So that means directly you can write entity at the rate class product. That's all. And rest of the columns, whatever it is. But you don't need to write at the rate. It's an optional. Whether you can write or not, it's up to your choice in this scenario point of view. Same rule applicable for same thing or same rule applicable for columns also. Okay. So why, if you observe here, I taken table name as EMP underscore details, but class name as employee underscore details. So that's why there is a difference. Then definitely you have to mention. If there is a difference, definitely you have to mention. If there is no difference, it's an optional then. In this case, JPA considering this is this property dealing with a column of country, even though you are not given column annotation, because it is considering both are same. And as a developer, you should have this sense. That is what the point here it is. Okay. So that is what the shortcut you have to remember here. Okay, cool. Now let's go for the what repository. So slowly you will understand similar to this shortcuts. Now repository is all about which repository? Employee repository, whatever it is. See, if you given as a in the name, class name or interface name itself, something like repository, like that naming wording, then you will easily recognize that class or that interface what and all by seeing the name itself. That's why people will do that. Okay, I'll do repository package name also. Okay, so cool. Now you created repository means it's not 100% is done. Extends JPA repository. JPA repository, and which class it is? Employee details is the class, and inside the employee details class, what is the data type of identifier column? Long. So here you have to give long. Okay, so this is what your repository is ready. Now it's all about doing the DB operations. So let's do employee operations, whatever it is, instead of DB operations. I'll do that, and it is a component class because we have to make the dependency injection of what? Auto void followed by employee repository. So employee repository and variable name you can take. So you got repository injected here. Now you can start doing making the operations. So to do select operations, first we need data, right? So that's why what I'm doing is adding employees. So I'll add multiple employees at a time, shortcut. So public void add more employees. See guys, when you're making assignments and you can do one thing, I already told you in earlier also. What is that is, please keep in your mind like always taking input from the keyboard. Input from keyboard. Don't hard code the values like what I'm doing, like name equal to Dilip, name equal. You don't do that. When you're practicing, take input always from the keyboard. So that means scanner class or buffer reader class or whatever its solution is. But take keyboard. So the moment if you are doing that, then you will feel like you're doing a real-time application. That's right. So use all your core Java skills. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, how many objects I will insert 10 employee objects at a time so that I want that data also. And okay, let's create one by one employee object here itself. Employee details. I'll create first objects, entity objects. Employee one equal to new employee details. Okay. Mhm. I'll do one like this. List employee details and then employees equal to new array list. Okay, fine. And I'm adding one by an employee to this. Dot add. So I'm adding employee objects, new employee details objects. Yeah. So employee ID, I'll take something like starting with one, and then employee name, I'll take like one, and I'll take age I'll take like 28, and followed by salary I'll give like 30,000, and followed by city, and city point of view I'll give Hyderabad, and gender point of view I'll give like female, and country point of view I'll give India. Constructor integer string int double. Okay, I have to give f value here because we taken float, right? So that's why f. Okay, cool. So this is all core Java knowledge. There is nothing to discuss much over here. So similarly, I'll make minimum 10 objects. I'll change the data quickly. Two, three. That's why it's very time waste process if I'm creating every time new tables. So that's why I will use this same table going further most of the time, same examples. Otherwise, it will eat lot of time. 9 and followed by 10. So 10 records I'll take, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So age I will give randomly 44, 23, 33, 55, 22, 21, 45, 29, 33, something like that. Okay. So I'll give salaries also randomly. Okay, so I'll give locations very carefully because I need this data. So Bangalore, Hyderabad I'll keep, and this person Chennai, and I'll take this as Newark, and from the USA, and I'll take again Hyderabad. Okay, so I'll take again Chennai, New New Jersey, something like I taken, and I'll take an USA. I'll keep Bangalore. I'll keep Bangalore only. So I'll keep one person total male person is there, and I'll make one female person, two female persons. Hyderabad male, Chennai also female. I'll make females only. New York female, New Jersey point of view male, whatever it is. So that's why I said think always do practice in the larger perspective. Take if I taken 10 records, that means you have to take minimum 20, 30 records. So that's how you have to think always. Okay, so I'm just keeping this data as it is. Now let's come back and see. Now insert this data. So it's all about repository.save all. Finally, what we have done today is we discussed the save all method 2 times, but no problem. Okay, so if you are calling this method, then automatically what will happen? So I'll make something like operations. Okay, so let's call get that bean object. So that's why I will not take new entities from tomorrow onwards. It will save longer time. Container dot, but anyway, get bean of, you can give bean ID, whatever the class name, or you can give the dot class instance also. So it's all about employee operations, right? Employee, yeah. When you take an employee dot class, okay, now call that method. It's all about saving all the employees at a time. Add more employees. Okay, this is what we discussed previously also with respect to products, adding more than one record at a time. Okay, you forgot to add DB properties, URL, username, password. Copy paste from our previous application. I'll copy paste. Okay, fine. So let's execute again one more time. Yeah, this is what. run as Java application. See here you have small dashboard if you observe or not. From here also you can run. Directly select that and click on run. It will always execute from the main method only. So even if you are doing from this dashboard, instead of doing that. See now all 10 queries are executed. So now your table is having 10 records. See your table is having 10 records. All the details. So I'll discuss at least one method and then we will see remaining tomorrow. It's a very straightforward method and let's see here. What is my point here? It is, yeah. So that one requirement we have, right? That we will complete and we'll connect tomorrow. This is what requirement we have. Details of an employee based on the employee ID. So let's see how we are going to do that. Okay. So sorry. Yeah. So this is what our requirement now. It's all about adding the where condition point of view only specific to employee ID. For example, if I given employee ID as 9, then I'll get only 9 information. If I given 99, no record because there is no record. There is no employee with ID 99. So that means zero record. Now tell me guys, in this case, what is the probability of number of records being written? I mean, probability means it's not like that. What is the count? What is the guarantee of how many records you are going to get maximum in this case based on our table structure? If I am executing this query at a time, how many records I'll get the maximum number of records? You will get either 0 or 1. Why? Because in this case, employee ID, whatever you take an employee underscore ID, whatever it is, generally what primary key column. So the moment you are dealing with primary key column in the where condition, if record is matching, only one record will be available. One record, if value is there. If otherwise, zero. It's not like there is no way of getting more than one record. There is no way of getting more than one record. Otherwise, zero records. So that means either zero or all one you will get always with respect to ID column. Now, for example, I'm asking based on city. Then what is the probability in this case? 0 or more than 0. More than 0 means it might be 1, it might be 2, it might be 3. Is it true or not? Yes. How? Yes. If I given city equal to Hyderabad, select star from employee where city equal to Hyderabad. So 1, 2, 3, 3 people will come. So that means more than 1. If I given city equal to Delhi, 0. So that means when you are dealing with primary key column is all about avoiding the duplicates, so unique values. That's why you will get only one record if the value found. If not found, zero records. So in this case, non-primary key column perspective, zero or more, right? That is what we understood. Okay, now let's come back and implement this in employee operations. Come back here. Get employee data by ID, employee ID. So the point what you have to remember here it is employee ID is primary key. That point you have to note down. Remember it. We already created table like this public void load employee information. So now first search for a predefined method, anything available or not. Anything available or not. So earlier I shown you find all, right? So the moment you made find all, what is happening? There is no condition. There is no where condition. Simply it will give all the employee objects. That we know that. So it's all about all employees. So if the moment you want all employees, then find all method you will do simply. So it will give entity of list of entity objects. What is entity object? Employee details, I think. Yeah, employee details. So all employees. This will give all employees point of view. But our point is based on the load in employee information by ID, by employee ID. So what you have to do in this case, see here, any method available or not. If you observe here, there is a method available find by ID. And observe here, find by ID values long of ID. So how it is knowing that, why it is asking us only long value? There is a story behind it. Retrieves, so what find by value will do is retrieves an entity by its ID. And it is asking us to provide long value. How it is long value? How it knows that? Why it is asking only specifically long value? Here it is. See, the moment you are using ID here, you are not given any column name. Understand the point here. So for example, I given find by ID of 1, and then it is returning back find by ID method is returning always optional type. Okay, long value 1 I will give. So L I will give. It's we know that. But I given value is 1 only. The moment you return what you are getting optional object. Java 8 feature again. So that's why Java 8 features are more important. So import the optional employee object like that, and you can see inside that it's all optional class, guys. Okay, so what is an optional class? You know that. Employee details, employee equal to employee object dot get method. You have to use get method based on the optional object dot get. So generally it's all about Java 8 feature. So simply it is returning optional of employee object. So internally employee object will be there and you can print it. Okay, so see here, my point here it is what you have to understand here it is where you said, where in this case the moment you are executing this method, what's happening? Let's see first. Go to the that class operations class. Sorry, here. So now what I'm doing, instead of adding all, employee operations dot load employee by, I mean something like employee ID, whatever it is. Now the moment this method is executed, you given one, and what's happening, let's understand first, and then I'll explain you what is happening internally. I'll give you the details. Yeah, if you observe here, this query is executed. So the overall thing here it is, this query is executed. What is the query executed? See here, select columns. Yeah, this is the way. Select columns from employee details table where employee ID equal to question mark. So now my point here it is, in this method you used find by ID, and find by ID means how it knows that it is only employee ID column. How it knows that? How it knows that it is only employee ID column? Why not employee name? Why not city? Why not gender? Why not salary? How it is taking in this case where condition level, how Spring Boot internally Hibernate generated an SQL query where employee ID equal to question mark. So that means the one value went here. That's why you got all employee information. But now my point is how it is knowing that employee ID column. Why not name column? Why not age column? Why not city column? So the point here it is the find by ID method. In this case, how it is working here it is. The moment you return find by ID, what it will do is, understand the point, guys. find by ID. This is the only speciality of this method. The moment you given find by ID, so what, this is a predefined method of find by ID. The find by ID, I'll give you point here. So in this case, find by ID is a predefined method, is always pointed to, is always pointed to identifier column, is always pointed to identifier column. So identifier column. So how, what is the point of identifier column of entity? So that means what will happen here, it is the moment you are calling find by ID, what is the repository? Employee repository. So it will go to the employee repository. So it will employee repository. Okay, go to the employee repository and it will observe, see what is the ID value given? Long value. So why you given long value? The rule is what you understood, the identifier column data type. So that find by ID is nothing but this ID. Find by is a common word and that ID is nothing but this ID. So that means internally what JPA is understanding is the moment you are calling find by ID is nothing but it is always pointing to the @ID column, @ID column of entity class. So what is the column of @ID entity class? Employee ID. So that is how internally JPA decided, like based on this column name, the find operation should happen. So that is why Hibernate created a query called as query generated like select star from, okay, employee where employee underscore ID equal to the value. What is the value? You passed 1. So that the 1 value is replaced here. This is how the queries happen. So find by ID, the ID is representing what? Identifier column of the entity class. So what is the identifier column? How many ID columns you will have in entity class? It's always only one. Only one. You cannot give more than one. 100% is only one. You have to use that too mandatorily. You have to use in entity class, identifier class. So that one and only column is considering always as a find by ID. So that's why it is taking employee ID equal to 1. And that is how the query got generated internally, and that is how you got employee information of 1. Now if I am giving employee ID 99 or 100, whatever it is, out of the range 100 I given, then what will happen? Select star from employee where employee ID equal to 100, 0 records. So 0 records, that's why it is saying like no such value, no element. So it query is executed. In the optional level, there is no object presented. That's why you got this exception. Simply, there is no value. Simply, there is no value. There is no record with that. So, but the point is understand the query again here. Where condition level employee ID. It will keep on send the employee ID. Now, similarly, if you go to the previous sessions, previous examples, go to the entity of product details, the identifier column you given at PID. So that means the moment if you go to the operations repository dot find by ID, for example, assume dot find by ID means it is expecting integer value. In this case, why? In previous case it is long value. Now it is asking integer value. How it knows that it is an integer value? How it knows that it is an integer value? The reason is go to the repository, open the repository, what you given? Integer. What is this integer? Identifier column data type. So that means you defined as integer, that's why it is asking integer value. You defined as long value, that's why it is asking long value when you are doing the operations. And this identifier column, how you know that it is an integer? Based on the identifier column, the data type of identifier column. So that means the identifier column is here what? PID. So that means in this case, the moment you given find by ID, what query will be generated? Select star from product where PID equal to so and so value. So that is how the relationship is defined around this ID. So tomorrow what we can discuss is, okay, if it is primary key column, okay, then what about the non-primary key columns? So now the thing is happened story about primary key column. Now what about the non-primary key column? Non-primary key columns. That means I want data based on city. Based on city. So that means select a star from employee where city equal to so and so value. Then what is the method you have to use? If you observe here, employee operations and click on find by what? You have only ID. Then where is the city column? Where is the age column? Where is the country column? I want to get data based on the non-primary key columns also. Primary key column point of view, find by ID they given. But non-primary key columns point of view, they are not given anything. So that means do we need to write a manual SQL query? No. We have some solutions, custom find by methods. I'll discuss that tomorrow. So that is most important, writing custom find by methods. Those details I'll discuss tomorrow. So today what we discussed is how to get data based on the identifier column, nothing but a primary key column. Whenever it is a primary key column, nothing but it's an identifier column in the entity class, then you can use directly find by ID method. So internally, it will always, the value is always pointed to the primary key column level like this. That is what the concept of find by ID method. But if it is non-primary key columns, what you have to do? This is the answers you will get tomorrow. Okay, so that's all for today. I think we are going beyond time, but I will use same tables from tomorrow onwards. Any doubts you can ask, otherwise we will connect on tomorrow.